Chicago was the center of the carbon tax credit movement when it was the sulfur dioxide trading credits, and yet somehow that hasn't happened. So what is your view on carbon emissions? What would you do about that? And how would that change any of your answer to transportation policy?
First of all, on greenhouse gas emission, climate change is real, and we need to do something serious to combat it. We should make sure we get back in the President Obama's Clean Power Act. On transportation, 10 years ago, I introduced a bipartisan bill in the House to do a carbon fee, a fully refunded carbon fee, so that for all the energy, people have to pay for the true externality of what the greenhouse gases are doing. They would receive the money back, money that came into the government, and it all go out in the form of cutting taxes. I think that's a smart way to do this, a smart way to address climate change. I'm a member of the Bipartisan Climate Solutions Caucus. Just introduced a bill to create challenges to fight, to make breakthroughs in fighting climate change.
So if that is all true, then I would ask the congressman why he voted for the Keystone Pipeline. If he believes that climate change is real, I'm not sure why he voted for the Keystone Pipeline, so that's a problem. Myself, I believe that climate change is very real and very significant. Right here in our district, we have a small community in the southwest part of the district called Fairmont that is in serious crisis with regard to infrastructure and water needs. And Mr. Lipinski has put a blind eye and a deaf ear to it at every turn. So that's one of the first things that I would work on as your congressperson, is to solve that issue out there, or begin to solve it, and convene, because it is a all levels of government issue. I would convene federal, state, municipal groups, and county groups to come together and solve that problem that's been significant for 13 years, coincidentally, Mr. Lipinski's tenure. So that is one of many significant problems we have in the district. We have failing infrastructure that is attached to climate problems. I believe strongly in renewable energy and renewable energy jobs. And I think we can, that same training center that I talked about, we could develop renewable training, renewable job training that would be a great lift to the district as well as the nation.
So another sort of traffic-related question. How will you address the gridlock in Congress and work with a divided legislature to get legislation passed? And we'll start with Ms. Newman.
Thank you. So my grandpa used to say you can fight and collaborate at the same time, and I believe that every day, and anybody that has kids probably agrees with me. So here's what's interesting. You can fight on principle and make sure you stick to your principles and fight for them steadfastly. But you do have to collaborate. You can collaborate on the implementation. So in Congress, what I would fight for is our principles, is to help working families get a fair deal, expand the middle class, get health care for all, protect and advance immigrant rights, as well as many other issues. But I also would compromise and collaborate where we need to get something done, and that happens frequently. I've done it I've built large coalitions throughout my entire career. I'm good at bringing people together and having someone find common ground. We all agree on a few things. We all want to expand the middle class. We can't keep going the direction that we're going in. We all want steady jobs. We all want to bring wages up. So I would start there, because that's where Republicans and Democrats actually do agree. So I would work hard in those groups, and I would reach across the aisle.
Kristen?
I've worked very hard to get people to sit down, bring people together to solve problems. I talked about the House Problem Solvers Caucus. We sat down for 5 months in this group, Democrats and Republicans, to come up with a way to give dreamers a pathway to citizenship. We're not going to pass a Clean Dream Act. A lot of things that Ms. Newman talks about, she claims they're somehow going to magically happen. What we need to do is sit down and work out some compromise. Compromise has become a dirty word in Washington. The Tea Party, the Freedom Caucus, is a major problem. having a tea party of the left that makes promises about all these things that can happen magically, it's not going to work. They're fantasy. We need to be willing to sit down and work together. That's why I've been able to pass all the legislation I've been able to pass, to get things done, to fix the Affordable Care Act. We have legislation that we put together in the Problem Solvers Caucus to lower rates, premium by 30%. We got there through compromise and working hard to put that together.
Please. We have increased the federal debt during a period of economic expansion that may be coming to an end. What can or should be done to pay down the federal debt? And the question says, please, no generality, no platitude. That does seem to be a theme with questions tonight. So we'll start with Congressman Lipinski.
Well, I opposed President Trump's tax scheme that dug another hole in our, added more, $1.5 trillion probably to our debt. I opposed the bill that was just passed that raised the budget gap for 2 years. It was a good idea, but we needed to pay for it, as we did the last 2 times that we raised the budget gap. I was one of the brave 38 that voted for a budget a few years ago based on the Simpson-Bowles Deficit Reduction Commission. We need to do that. We need to have the courage to make the tough choices. And there's going to have to be cuts, and yes, we're going to have to raise taxes. That's important to do, but I think we have room here, especially with the tax cut that was just passed, that gives so much to the wealthy and to corporations. That's one place to start.
Thank you, Ms. Newman.
Thank you. So a good place to start is to have folks to pay their taxes that are not currently paying their taxes. Up to 20% of the U.S. tax-paying population that should be paying their taxes are not paying their taxes. So let's start there. That would start to pay down the debt faster than any of these other programs. So let's start there. I also recommend that we have a financial transaction tax that would be not hurt anyone. It's pennies and pennies, but they all add up and would bring the debt down dramatically. And there are many other financial loopholes that we should address during any collaboration. And I've actually had conversations across the aisle on this, and actually many Republicans agree with some of those. So the reality is this can be done, but you have to have the will to get it done, and you have to have an administration that would be interested in having things be fair instead of lining the pockets of billionaires all day long, every day, and being an obsession.
I'm going to ask some questions that aren't really about issues, but that I think might be relevant. So one, for example, there's far more ways for people to keep in touch with their constituents than before. At one extreme, my alderman lets the residents vote on how to use menu money. And if you live in the city and you don't know how your alderman uses menu money, you should find that out. At the other extreme, we had a congressman in the western suburbs who refused to hold town halls with constituents. So what would you do to stay in touch with your constituents and find out how they want you to vote on an issue? We'll start with Ms. Newman.
Thank you. Well, I think I've already demonstrated that. This is the 134th meet and greet I've had in a year, and I would continue that system. I have learned a lot, and a lot of ideas have been produced out of these meetings. And so you'll often hear me say I'm running with the district. I'm not running against the district. And I'm running with your values. To that end, I learn a lot. Leaders listen, and they listen often. So I would have meetings with individually in small meetings, large meetings like this, town halls, and I also would invite people into my office. Right now, you'll find we are there from about 7 in the morning till about 11 at night, and you can stop in any time and you can talk to us. And that invitation is true always, and it will be true moving forward. And I have a long history of convening regular meetings. You'll find everybody that has endorsed me, which is somewhere around 100 folks between the organizations and elected officials, I have standing meetings with them so that I learn and can be mentored, but also help them as well. So I would listen and lead and have regularly standing meetings.
Congressman Lipinski.
I made it a point since I was first elected to reach out to my constituents. I still hold town hall meetings. There's a lot of members of Congress who have stopped doing that. I'm available to my constituents in the district. I go to events all across the district. I think it's very important that a representative be accessible to their constituents, listen to their constituents, and fight for what they want. And I have made it a point to make sure that I do that.
Have you?
Excuse me. Come on, okay. All right. So, this was an email question. Can you describe an instance in which you changed your mind about an important issue or personal belief, and what criteria did you use to make that decision? I'm guessing this is somebody who works in HR somewhere. Let's start with Congressman Lipinski.
Well, something I mentioned earlier. When I first was elected, I didn't, first of all, I had issues with federal hate crimes laws, because I said if someone is breaking a law, they should be prosecuted for that law, not for what they may be thinking or intending when they do that. I learned that an issue, especially for the LGBTQ community, was that these hate crimes that are committed against members of the community really does more in terms of creating a feeling of a threat and a feeling of, not being safe. And that because of that, it's important that we do have these hate crime laws. And when I voted to add sexual orientation to federal hate crime laws, that was a change of mind from where I was when I first entered office.
And Ms. Newman?
And I would ask the congressman why he continues to support religious freedom laws. It's in the Constitution. We have religious freedom. We don't need further religious freedom. We have freedom of religion. We have freedom to do what we want with our religion or not have religion. So that's an unnecessary law. His freedom of religion laws that he so loves is really meant to discriminate against. And we talked about that before, the FATA Act and several others that he has supported. So the notion that he has evolved on this is absolutely ludicrous. He just said on January 24th he does not support marriage equality or LGBTQ folks.
Okay, next question. What do you think is the biggest problem America faces that Congress can solve? And if elected or re-elected, how would you work to solve it? You get to go first. It's your turn.
So I think our biggest issue is expanding the middle class, straight up. We have had a decline in the middle class for 40 years. Wage suppression has been going on for 40 years. We have to strengthen our ability for middle skills, and this leads into the education question, so I'll go ahead and go there. We have to have education that better serves our kids. Not everybody should go to a four-year college, and I don't mean that as we should dictate who should or shouldn't, but not everybody wants to. So the reality is we should adjust our community colleges. This great institution right here, my entire family is taking classes here, and we should utilize them more. We should utilize it to have middle skills, to have specific certifications, and have curriculum that leads to real jobs. So with that, what we can do is have a wide variety of middle income jobs that would allow our economy to be stronger and have a stronger foundation. So I believe the foundation is in education, but also creating jobs and job training programs in community colleges, community centers, where everybody can access training.
Congressman Lipinski.
I have focused on middle-class job creation. That's been my number one issue from the beginning. I have helped to pass a bill that requires a manufacturing strategy in this country for the first time since Alexander Hamilton. I've helped to bring jobs here to the district. A company that unfairly lost out on a contract that they should have received from the Defense Department. I went to bat for them. They got the contract. We got the job. We need to help small businesses. I've been very active in in helping small businesses, especially those who are more innovative. Community colleges, I agree. I just had someone from Moraine Valley out to at the science committee last week to talk about the great work they're doing at the Cybersecurity Institute here. So I think helping the middle class, get better jobs, better paying jobs, that's the most important thing that we can do and we need to do, and I've been doing throughout my entire career.
All right, and something else I think that is near and dear to us in Illinois right now. What are your thoughts on national popular vote for president, and would you support amending the Constitution for that?
I don't believe that this is something that we should spend our time trying to do. We're not going to get it done. I think there's a reason why the Constitution was written the way it is, with the electoral votes by states, to make sure that presidential candidates campaign all across the country. And we're not going to get it done because we can't pass a constitutional amendment because we're asking states to give up some of the power that they have. I want to go back to something that really was very concerning to me, is the statement by Ms. Newman that religious freedom is not important, that we have enough religious freedom.
I didn't say
Religious freedom is under attack. When the Little Sisters of the Poor have to provide contraception, that is a problem. Same-sex marriage, it's a law of the land. I support that public policy. But during that debate in front of the Supreme Court, the question was asked, well, does this mean that churches will lose their tax-exempt status? And the Solicitor General said, maybe they will. That's why the First Amendment Defense Act was important, and that's why I co-sponsored it.
Ms. Newman?
That is not why he co-sponsored it. He co-sponsored it because he is anti-LGBTQ, and I'm just going to play that exactly as it is, because he is. He's also anti-women's issues. So he is on the record saying at a town hall a year ago, the reason he didn't vote for the Affordable Care Act, and just he didn't. He said that he did not believe that birth control should be in the Affordable Care Act. Further, in a July 17, 2017 article, he identified that birth control is intrinsically evil. So birth control is health care. 92.4% of the nation believes in birth control. So we can't vote our own conscience, as he likes to say. We have to vote how our constituents want us to vote. So if most of the people believe in birth control and we should be supportive of affordable and accessible birth control, then we should do that. So this notion about religious freedom, I believe in religious freedom. Of course I do. Everybody should be able to believe in the faith that they have. But we already have that written in our Constitution, which is great.